Alright, what is up, you guys? Continuing on with the SummerSlam pay-per-view reviews, we have 2016. So, really like the artwork there. Kind of different. But, speaking of different, this pay-per-view, it kind of takes a lot of explanation and a lot of getting into kind of the background of this pay-per-view. This was in 2016. They went through, I guess, kind of a major shift. We brought back the brand split. So, having a second brand split was huge at the time because, the product was very stale and there was a lot of hope going into this pay-per-view because this was really the start of something fresh. The start of hopefully something new. And, seeing what we have now, the brand split is pretty much dead. And we have the fucking wild card rule. Fuck that. But, at the time, there was a lot of hope. And I really like this pay-per-view, probably a lot more than other people do. But this is an unbiased review. This is not putting my personal feelings into it. But this felt special at the time, and it felt big. Now, was this pay-per-view disappointing in a lot of ways? Yes. There were a lot of things that should have been better and could have been better, but they weren't. But let's get into this. So, we had kind of the major selling point was this brand split and this new era. The summer belongs to the new era. But, we had Charlotte versus Sasha Banks for the women's title. Decent match. And, two of your biggest, kind of the faces of the women's wrestling at that time in the WWE. So, squaring off together. We had Cesaro and Sheamus. This was on the pre-show, but at the same time, this was bringing back kind of a ruthless aggression era idea, which I don't think has been back since, if I'm correct. Maybe once or twice since then. But Cesaro and Sheamus, the best of 7 series, bringing that back. That's a cool concept to bring back. I always like that. Just reminds me of like 2006. So, another big match that a lot of people were really counting on that ended up being a disappointment, unfortunately, was Dolph Ziggler versus Dean Ambrose for the WWE Championship. A lot of people were really looking forward to this match. And unfortunately, it wasn't like a bad match, but it was just average. A lot of people really thought this was going to steal the show, and unfortunately it didn't. And then we also had, for the Universal title, crowning the Universal Champion, for the first time ever, we had Demon Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. I really like this match. I thought it's really set a tone for a new world title. And to have Finn Balor as your champion, I didn't think that was going to happen. And I'm really glad they chose him. Obviously, he was injured from the powerbomb onto the barricade, unfortunately. It sucks. That would have been really cool to see a Demon Balor, or just Finn Balor title run. So, it sucks, but, at least they can't take that away from him. He was the first Universal Champion. Now, the Universal title doesn't really mean much anymore. It never really did. And, you had Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, part-time champions. I think Kevin Owens was still the best Universal Champion. But it is what it is. So, good match by these two. We also had AJ Styles versus John Cena. And this match, if I were to rate this out of 5 stars, I'd give it like 4.5. This was a great match between these two. And AJ Styles won clean, which also surprised me. So, I was really, really glad to see that. And just a great match. And, I don't think it was quite as good as their Royal Rumble 2017 match, but this really stole the show. And probably tired a lot of people out. But, Not that the rest of the show, this was kind of the high point of the show, for me at least, and probably a lot of people. But we also saw, before I get to the main event, this was the debut of the new stage that we have currently at the time of this video, that will be changing very soon again. But a lot of people, including myself, thought this was a kind of the return of the pay-per-view stages, you know, each one having its own unique set. No, this basically just introduced the new Raw and SmackDown stage. And for every pay-per-view after this, except for a few of the bigger shows. But it was cool to see a new set, you know, something unique, not bland like we were seeing at the time. So, your main event. This was kind of the big selling point of the pay-per-view, as well as kind of the new era. Your main event was Randy Orton versus Brock Lesnar. And for me, yeah, this was kind of a dream match. You know, it's not the biggest dream match of all time, but it's definitely up there. Like, I was excited for this, and this was more of the attraction match. So, to have this as your main event was pretty exciting. And this match has pretty much become infamous, mainly for the ending. Unfortunately, I can only remember maybe a few spots from the match itself, and I've seen it a few times. So we had Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton, your huge attraction main event. But, you know, not too long into it, Brock Lesnar started, you know, just ground and pound on Randy Orton. You know, he gave him the elbows for a hard way cut, which was done on purpose as a way to swerve the advertisers, because they wanted blood. You know, they felt like the ending of this match needed blood. Well, they can't blade, so we'll just cut him open the hard way. Legit. This was a shoot. So, you know, I liked the ending, but a lot of people didn't. I felt like maybe I would rather see a pinfall clean finish. But if you're going to put Brock Lesnar over, this is a good way of doing it. Am I disappointed by it at the time? Yeah. I wanted to see a really good, like, 20, 30-minute match between these guys. But what can you do? It's WWE. What do you really expect at this point? So, you know, it still was a decent match, though. It's not like it was just a ground and pound finish. No, there was some substance to it, and it was really surprising and came out of nowhere. So I give him credit for that. But a SummerSlam that I consider almost a guilty pleasure of mine. I like it more than I probably should. But that's not going to affect my letter grade. For me, I'm going to rate this. It's kind of a hard pay-per-view to grade, really. But I'm going to give this a B-. You know, I felt like it was very strong at some points. John Cena and AJ Styles was great. I think you had a really powerful main event. And Universal title match was great. And, you know, even Sasha Banks and Charlotte was good. So, yeah, B- for me. Let me know your thoughts down below and what you would rate this. And for now, this has been the DVD Freak. Peace out.